Super Metroid doesn't have much of a tangible story to speak of. Outside of the opening cutscene, there are no other lines of text in the rest of the game, and this is the thing that separates it from other games with feelings of isolation. There are NPCs in Hollow Knight or Bloodborne, for example, whereas in Super Metroid you are well and truly alone. The only human you see in all of Zebes is this dead guy early on. This isn't a strike against those games, of course, but I want to try and establish the tone for Super Metroid here. Isolation is everything. So, with no text, how can you tell a story? Anyone that likes the aforementioned games will be no stranger to environmental storytelling, so I want to take some time to look at a particularly great example in Super Metroid, this area in Norfair. This room is one of the first you'll likely check out when you arrive in the area, but it's extremely hot, so we'll have to come back later. You can also check out this room when you first arrive. It's not hot, but you need the speed booster to get through. The level loop is that you go through the upper hot section, navigate through Norfair, pick up the speed booster, and blast back through here. Let's start with the upper room. After you bomb through here, you'll land on a man-made bridge over some lava. The next room then has some more lava, with these rock formations sticking out of the ground. Finally, there's this room with the rising lava that's full of enemies, and you reach this green room. Super Metroid tends to use shifts and tile sets to communicate a shift in goal. For example, back in Crateria, the ramp encourages you to simply run forward, showing the shift to a more linear section. In this green room, it's much more open and has multiple exits you can't reach, communicating the opposite, a change from a linear path to a more open one. Let's skip forward to the end of the level. You get the speed booster, and now you can make it back through this corridor to the start of Norfair. Now we're familiar with the rooms, let's look at the story they tell. The upper level has a much more naturalistic design. The rocks rise and fall pretty randomly. The first room couldn't be navigated at all if it weren't for the bridge here. Considering how many man-made things are in this green room and further on in Norfair, it's hard to imagine somebody bringing supplies for construction in from this route. What about the other room? Well, there's much less to say. It's a straight path to the lower part of the green room. The last piece of the puzzle is the type of tile used for this bridge here. Spacebar construction is all metallic. For example, this room over here uses metal platforms where the natural ones stop. But the tile for the bridge isn't metal. In fact, the only other place in the entire game it's seen is over here, in Lower Norfair. The construction is similar to the other places that Chozo lived, and the Chozo were here first, leading us to a simple conclusion. The Chozo had to get through Norfair, so they made this bridge over the lava. Fast forward to the Space Pirates, and they've repurposed Lower Norfair into a base. Moving through Upper Norfair is a huge pain, so what do? They bulldoze a tunnel through Norfair entirely, creating a straight line that connects them to the central green room. It even connects to the bottom half, which is held up by metal structures, so you can see it's what they made. I think this is one of the standout examples of extremely subtle storytelling in Super Metroid, and there are probably others. I'm not an expert on Metroid lore or anything like that. I just think it's cool that this path has an explicit gameplay purpose, but also serves as a way to deepen the world. Metroidvanias typically have a harder path you have to complete, followed by an easier one for backtracking purposes, but this one in particular contextualizes it in a novel way. Are there any other examples of this kind of design in Super Metroid, or of course for other games? Let me know of any, because I really love this kind of stuff, this attention to detail. And please let me know what you thought of this video, I'd love to make more like it. See you later.